Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the news, folks. The planet is currently being run like a pickup truck with 3 missing lug nuts, a cracked windshield, and a raccoon behind the wheel doing 90 through a school zone. Everywhere you look, something expensive is on fire. Something constitutional is being chewed on like gas station jerky. And some powerful idiot is standing there saying, "This is actually proof the system is working beautifully." We got war, protests, oil spikes, legal chaos, AI lying for sport, and even a kangaroo proving it has a stronger grasp of freedom than half the elected officials in Washington. So let's dig into the week's madness the only way that makes sense, which is loudly, slightly sideways, and with the kind of judgment you normally only get from a man fixing a muffler with a coat hanger. Segment 1, 8 million mad and still counting. The biggest story in America right now is that millions of people poured into the streets for these No Kings protests, which is about as subtle as slapping a possum on the Resolute desk and calling it a cabinet meeting. 8 million people showed up across all 50 states, and that ain't just a city thing anymore. Because when folks in red counties and little towns start hauling handmade signs into the heat just to tell Washington to kiss their entire backside, that means something has busted loose. This wasn't just about one policy either. It was war costs, immigration crackdowns, rising prices, and that general smell in the air when people think power has started acting like it owns the deed to the country. When Bruce Springsteen is out there singing anti-ICE protest songs in Minnesota while Arizona crowds are cooking outside courthouses, you're not looking at a normal weekend. You're looking at a national stress fracture with a guitar solo. And the funny part, in the darkest possible way, is the White House keeps trying to project strength while the country looks like it's holding an intervention in the front yard. Nothing says we are in control quite like needing a bigger police perimeter, because grandmas, students, veterans, and random guys in cargo shorts have all decided they are done being governed like a reality show elimination round. The administration is fighting a war overseas and an argument with its own population at home. And buddy, that is like trying to wrestle 2 hogs while your overalls are already around your ankles. Beneath all the yelling is one grounded fact. When protests get bigger, broader, and more rural, politicians stop being able to dismiss them as niche theater. That means this ain't just outrage, it's organization. And organized outrage is a whole different kind of critter. Segment 2, bombs for Tehran, budget cuts for grandma. Then we get to the budget, where the federal government apparently sat down, looked at daycare, Medicaid, and Medicare, and said, "Well, shoot, have we considered simply loving missiles more?" The White House is pushing for an absolutely giant defense number while hacking at domestic spending, which is a real bold strategy when people already feel like eggs cost more than custom motorcycle parts. Trump basically admitted the quiet part out loud by saying the country can't keep funding all this home front stuff because we are fighting wars. And that is one heck of a sales pitch if your campaign slogan is, "Sorry about your insulin, we bought more explosions." It turns the whole national budget into a busted farm ledger where the tractor got financed, the barn got painted, and somehow Meemaw's medicine is the line item they circled in red. And just to add a little gold-plated insanity on top, this is the same week a judge blocked a $400 million White House ballroom project. So let me get this straight. The government is too broke to keep social programs steady, but rich enough to consider building a fancy dance barn at the presidential house. That is the kind of hypocrisy you usually only see from a man claiming he can't pay child support while installing a hot tub in a base boat. The grounded truth here is that budgets reveal priorities faster than speeches do. And this one is screaming that force gets funded while ordinary life gets told to check with the states. When your national economic philosophy starts sounding like, "Have you tried being less sick?" folks tend to notice. Segment 3, Oil, War, and Allies Getting Told Good Luck. Overseas, the Middle East mess keeps getting uglier, and now the war is punching straight through the gas pump into everybody's wallet. Oil shot up hard because markets heard all that tough talk diplomacy where somebody says they want peace while also promising to knock a whole country back into the Stone Age. And it turns out investors respond poorly to medieval threats paired with vague reassurance. That's because the Strait of Hormuz is not some optional side road. It is more like the world's fuel funnel. And when that gets jammed up, everybody from shipping companies to airlines to regular folks with a half tank starts feeling their blood pressure rise. The administration keeps selling energy independence like America is a magical barbecue island, floating free of global consequences. But if oil jumps, prices jump, and your freedom-themed slogan does not make diesel cheaper. Then you got Japan, one of our longtime allies, basically saying, "Hey, this war is frying energy markets, and maybe we should talk." And Trump's answer was reportedly the diplomatic equivalent of, "Figure it out yourself." That is not alliance management. That is two drunk guys at a county fair deciding the friendship is over because one borrowed the other's socket wrench in 1997. Bringing up Pearl Harbor while discussing present-day oil shock is the kind of move that makes foreign policy feel less like strategy and more like an uncle derailing Thanksgiving with grievance improv. The serious point underneath the foolishness is that allies watch how you behave under pressure. And if the message becomes "help us militarily" or "enjoy the collapse alone," trust starts leaking fast. You can bully your enemies, maybe, but when you start treating allies like Uber drivers who missed your turn, the whole map gets shaky. Segment 4, Courts, Citizenship, and a President in the Front Row. Back here at home, the legal system is out here trying to do constitutional surgery, while the patient keeps live posting from the waiting room. The Supreme Court heard arguments on birthright citizenship, which is one of those issues that sounds academic until you realize it's really about who gets to belong here, and whether long-settled rights can be yanked up like weeds because somebody in power got tired of the landscaping. Trump physically showing up in the courtroom gallery made the whole thing feel less like a hearing and more like a mob boss attending zoning appeals, just to remind everybody he knows where the exits are. And the weird cherry on top is that the legal arguments reportedly did not land all that cleanly, which means he sat there looming for a while and then left early for lunch. Like even constitutional upheaval had to wrap before the buffet trays got cold. At the same time, the administration keeps trying to flex executive power in every direction, even floating moves to pay federal workers during a shutdown by just going around Congress. Politically, that's clever because nobody wants to be accused of taking money from Coast Guard families. But constitutionally, it is like fixing a leaky roof by setting fire to the attic and claiming the smoke will keep rain away. There was also a judge restoring status for immigrants who used a Biden-era appointment app, which means some of the biggest fights over American identity now hinge on paperwork, court filings, and apparently the afterlife of smartphone software. The grounded observation is that institutions are under stress because the executive branch keeps testing whether laws are guardrails or just decorative fence posts. And right now, every courtroom in America feels like it's one bad week away from needing a rodeo announcer. Segment 5, The Fake Internet, the Real Moon, and the World's Dumbest Wisdom. Meanwhile, the internet has become a haunted corn maze built by software that lies for attention. AI-generated war junk is all over the place. Fake explosions, fake strikes, fake proof, fake certainty, and now even the tools meant to detect fake stuff are messing up so badly that reality itself needs a press release. We have officially entered the age where a journalist near a real blast may need a second article confirming they did not personally Photoshop their own trauma. And that is enough to make you want to throw your phone into a creek and communicate only through porch yelling. On top of that, researchers are warning that chatbots are often built to be such kiss-ups they will practically nod along while you drive your life into a drainage ditch. So the future, apparently, is machines that confidently flatter your dumbest instincts, while the truth gets dragged behind the shed and shot with algorithm buckshot. Which makes the contrast with the Artemis 2 mission even funnier, because while the internet is getting dumber by the minute, 4 astronauts are out there doing actual hard things and slingshotting around the moon. That is still one of the few stories left where humanity appears capable of discipline, math, courage, and not replying all to nonsense. At the same time, scientists are telling us deep sleep might be one of the best things for the body, which is terrific news, because finally, there is a medical breakthrough perfectly suited to my strongest skill set. And there was that Crohn's diet study too, which is honestly refreshing because it is the rare modern headline that isn't about a court, a bomb, or a billionaire acting like an escaped livestock auctioneer. The grounded point here is simple. Real science still works, but it has to compete in an attention economy dominated by synthetic garbage and digital yes men. Segment 6, Perfect Brackets, DUI Body Cams, and the Kangaroo Spirit. To close this circus out, let us honor the beautiful side quests of civilization. A 14-year-old kid in Pennsylvania built a perfect tournament bracket without even watching basketball, which means every grown man with a podcast, 6 betting apps, and a spreadsheet full of advanced metrics just got humiliated by a child free-tapping guesses between normal adolescent activities. That is sports in America now. Entire empires of data, and then some 8th grader wanders in like a raccoon hitting slot machines and beats the house. Then Tiger Woods crashes his SUV and reportedly tells police he had just been talking to the president, which is the sort of sentence that would get cut from a screenplay for being too stupid and distracting. It is somehow golf scandal, political absurdity, celebrity tabloid sludge, and family drama leftovers all in one package, like if TMZ and C-SPAN had a fever together. And then, like a gift from the Lord of Weird News himself, we get a kangaroo escaping a Wisconsin petting zoo for 3 days and a bunch of clowns protesting in Bolivia because the economy has gotten so twisted, even professional joy has entered labor unrest. That right there is the whole week in miniature. One creature leaping over a fence for freedom, another group putting on grease paint to beg the system not to starve them, and the rest of us standing around pretending any of this is standard. The exaggerated analogy is that the global order now feels like a county fair held in a lightning storm, where the Ferris wheel is smoking, the funnel cakes cost $30, and the mayor is insisting everything remains festive. But the grounded truth is, people are reacting to real strain, war costs, democratic stress, bad information, and economic pressure that keeps leaking into daily life. In conclusion, this week proved once again that modern politics is not a machine running smoothly. It is a barn full of loose fireworks, and the only reason we can still laugh is because if we stop laughing, we might notice the kangaroo has better instincts than the people in charge.